But we have a lot of little T traumas. And a lot of those little T traumas are often within the first 7 years of our life when our subconscious is being wired.
Okay.
And so those little T traumas stick with us for the rest of our life. And they impact a lot of times how we make decisions.
Well, it's nice to finally meet you in person. When you're in a online networking group, it feels like you know people.
Mhm.
And then when you meet them, you realize in person, I actually don't know this person.
Yeah.
It's just an online presence that they did so well at cultivating. So again, the light investigation that I did, Whitney Fallon, Whitney Houston, Jimmy Fallon had a baby,
Yes.
which is so accurate, just seeing you in person. Health and wellness. So what does Whitney have to do with health and wellness? Take me there.
So through the journey, I went to school for psychology originally.
Okay.
Actually, I was a biochem double major. Thought I was going to go to pharmacy school.
Yeah.
And then, working in a pharmacy, I was like, no, I don't want to just push pills. I want to actually help people.
Okay.
My aunt was a nurse, and my uncle had died from a massive heart attack in his 40s. And kind of led me down that journey of, why did that happen to him, and wanted to learn more.
Okay.
And so then I went into psychology because I wanted to learn more.
Yeah.
That's all about learning everything.
Yes.
About
I love
people,
that.
right?
Yeah.
But then just volunteering at the hospital and seeing some of the medical side of things, I was like, this kind of feels interesting, learning stuff and being in the just fit. But it wasn't always easy, I will say.
I believe that. 100%.
Yeah. So I graduated early and I went to nursing school at Bellarmine, did their accelerated program.
Okay.
That was intense.
Yeah, sounds anything accelerated sounds intense.
Oh, yeah. And then I worked for a while in cardiology because that's where my passion was after all of that.
Yeah.
And then eventually went back to school, got a nurse practitioner, and kind of jumped around. I did cardiology, pulmonary, sleep, critical care.
Okay.
And then was in the hospital during COVID, during the intense time.
Was that crazy?
It was.
Oh my gosh.
So crazy.
That was a wild time.
It was. Yeah. But also during that time, I was kind of going through more of a spiritual awakening. And doing that in the hospital where there's so much energies, so many energies. People, died in there and spirits haven't passed through. And just a lot of intensity, especially because during COVID, people couldn't come in and visit their family. So, communicating through the phone and the energy.
Not the same at all.
It was intense. And my mom had open heart surgery, 7 vessel bypass during COVID.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily, I could sneak into her room and go visit her.
There.
But then I went through my own health crisis. And I'd kind of, I've always been a little bit more holistic, done a little bit things differently. My grandma was very big about food and supplements and stuff. So, when I started going through my journey, I started noticing that it was a lot of, here, you have this symptom, take this medicine. And I'm super sensitive to medicine. I had a non-drowsy Dramamine one time when I was in college, going to this convention.
Yeah.
I slept for 3 days and missed the whole convention.
Oh my God.
Awful.
Okay. So very sensitive.
Yeah. I was like, are you sure this is non-drowsy?
Yeah. Okay. So we went on a little journey with that.
Yeah. So, during COVID, I'd had this migraine, and I'd had some migraines, and they were very intense. My family has hemiplegic migraines. And
what is that?
Basically, I looked like I had a stroke. The right side of my body, my face would droop sometimes. I'd have trouble seeing out of my eye. I'd have trouble gripping. I'd have trouble walking. I had to use a cane even for a little bit.
Oh my God.
And during, COVID, we had to wear these goggles. Well, the light was so strong, I had to wear sunglasses. And of course, everyone I worked with, they're like, yeah, so I think that you are a little hungover or something.
Right. You look cool, but also, what were you doing last night? Wow.
But really, it was just, there was so much inflammation in my body at the time.
Yeah.
That was just wrecking havoc. And then later, come to find out, I ended up being diagnosed with endometriosis, had to have my ovary taken out.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other journey too you had to go on.
Yeah. And then I had to have a colonoscopy before I had that to check, make sure nothing was in my colon.
Mm-hmm.
And after anesthesia, I couldn't wake up for almost an hour. And then when I did wake up, I couldn't talk. I couldn't do anything, couldn't say anything.
Terrifying.
And then I couldn't move the left side of my body, which was the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being accused of taking drugs and all this, well, I couldn't even talk or defend for myself.
Right.
Put me into a space where I really got to see how people who can't speak for themselves go through that. So I feel like it was an experience that I had to experience to help have that empathy for some other people.
Right. Right. Straight from the source.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I eventually then went, and because I had to have surgery and all this stuff, I actually lost my job. They said they couldn't accommodate me being there for just 3 days.
Which is wild to think the medical field would not accommodate something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I lost my insurance. I had to pay Cobra expensive and lost my income.
Crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of that during that time. But the crazy thing was when I went to go actually have my surgery, my aunt was there. I didn't really talk too much.
Okay.
Having the exact same surgery, the exact same ovary, on the exact same day at the exact same hospital.
Weird. Okay. A lot of weird coincidences there. Okay.
Yeah. So she was very terrified and nervous, and hers didn't go as well. But I hadn't really taken the time to like really prep, visualize my surgery going well, praying over all of my providers.
Yeah.
Really making sure to talk to anesthesiologist to say, hey, I'm really sensitive. Don't give me that propofol stuff again.
Yeah. Yeah. This has happened. I have experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my surgery actually went pretty well. And recovered from that. But that was the eye-opening experience for me to say, hey, I need to be out there helping other people who've been through this trauma of not feeling heard, not feeling supported in what their body was going through, and how to go about it in a more holistic way.
Okay. An advocate of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's what, I mean, golly, you already knew you wanted to help people because you signed up for the medical field. Then had, I mean, a trauma. And that is what led you to, how can I still serve after all that?
Yeah.
Because that sometimes trauma can definitely lead people in a very different way. But you took that and said, I don't want anyone else to experience that. So what did that look like? What happened? How did you decide? Because there's so many different kinds of advocates, right? They're in a good way, very needed. But I find these days they're very specific advocates. So how did you decide to go forward with the type you chose?
Mm-hmm. So I started my own business during that time, and it was to be more of a holistic approach towards people who went through a traumatic experience, whether it be a heart attack, a stroke, something kind of different. And through my journey, I learned about genetics and how my body was designed, and now I know why I'm so super sensitive to medicine, because my body doesn't detox and break them down. After I learned that, I learned, what my body needed to support itself. Mm-hmm. And so eventually I was able to, heal myself through that. So I started utilizing a lot of that in clients that I was working with, and helping them to tap in and understand more of what's going on in their body. What is their body trying to speak to them about?
Yeah.
And then just very divinely kind of guided, doing some guided meditation therapy with them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to explain because it's like out of body experience almost.
Literally,
sometimes.
yeah. Okay.
But a lot of times I could tap into either an age, an event that somebody had an experience or an emotion that was tied to it, and it helped them work through that.
Do you use like hypnotherapy or anything? Do
I
you?
do.
Okay, love that. I've never done that, but
So I don't do like traditional hypnotic. I mean, I've been done some training in it, but I use more like the hypnotic language during a guided meditation to help people rewire their brain
okay.
through that. Because for me, I felt like when I was going into surgery and trying to heal this endometriosis, this huge cyst that I had, I had to go through that visualization process, imagining my body just healing itself, repairing. Um, and so I wanted other people to experience that. So I kind of guide people through that in their own body and helping them to feel their body, releasing what it doesn't need. And so that kind of went into more of that spiritual aspect.
Yeah. So manifesting, um, in a sense, and almost that doesn't even feel like it gives it enough justice to say manifesting, but bringing in your psychology background because that seems like heavy mind work, um, in a positive way. So when you're explaining to people, this is what I can do to help you, how would you explain it?
The best way I know how to explain it is just share a story.
Okay.
Because
Love storytelling.
yeah. So one client that was really powerful was a young woman who had not been able to sleep for years.
Gosh.
She was married recently and her husband traveled. And so every time her husband would travel, she couldn't sleep in her own home. She couldn't sleep at all by herself. She had to have a security person with her to be able to sleep well.
Okay.
And so we were just kind of doing the guided meditation, diving into things, and come to find out, like, she had really bad kidney problems when she was younger.
Okay.
And I mean, I knew nothing about her.
Yeah, that seems
Well,
like
yeah.
let me help you figure out how to sleep and then you find out about kidney problems.
Yeah.
How do we get there?
So when she was a kid, she'd be woken up in the middle of the night in the hospital to take labs because they always take labs in the middle of the night. So she'd be woken up from sleep, held down, her mom, telling her,
You got to do
"You
this
got to
thing.
do this,"
Yeah.
and getting the labs taken. So she always had this fear that, something was going to come and attack her and hold her down during. So we did some release work, and really emotionally and releasing that attachment, drawing in some more safety and security. And then she called me like a week later and told me she had slept 3 nights by herself in her home while her husband was gone.
Wow. Okay. So when you are taking this holistic approach, it doesn't necessarily have to be this, I don't know if traumatic is the right word, but this catastrophic, I am having a heart attack or I'm working through surgeries. Like it is literally, I can't sleep and I need help figuring that out. Interesting. Okay. Because that makes it feel, when people think about working with a psychic or someone that maybe is in touch with the spiritual world, they think it has to be, you know, I got mugged and I need to get past this, but it can literally be, I can't sleep. Something as simple as that. So you're helping them through that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's different trauma. There's the big T trauma that we
Big
think
T.
of.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sexual assault.
Yeah.
And car accidents,
Right.
different things, stroke, whatever. But we have a lot of little T traumas. And a lot of those little T traumas are often within the first 7 years of our life when our subconscious is being wired.
Okay.
And so those little T traumas stick with us for the rest of our life. And they impact a lot of times how we make decisions, um, how we perceive ourselves.
Yeah.
It impacts how we perceive our bodies.
Right.
So many things.
Right. Ooh, that's a big one today. Really, since the beginning of time, it feels like, but how you see yourself, all the body dysmorphia, all of the weight, uh, all the different avenues to lose weight, we'll say, um, when really it could be, I need to work with someone to figure out the source of where this started and work through that more than just try to keep up with what's going on in society today. Do you think that sounds accurate? Because I know weight is a big thing. It just feels like maybe it's my algorithm, to be honest. This is just like everything I'm seeing. People talking about their bodies, how to stay fit, how to stay skinny, how to do this. And it does, it triggers something. And that could be something deeper for people.
Yeah.
Hey there, my little biz besties. It's Ashley Chamberlain, host of In Good Company and CEO of Chamberlain and Good Company, the virtual accounting firm that actually speaks human. If you're a business owner and you've ever found yourself staring at QuickBooks like it's a literal foreign language, wondering if your miscellaneous category is secretly plotting against you, this is for you. We just launched something new, a private Facebook group called Mind Your Business and Your Books. It's for business owners who want real answers, real support, maybe a little less panic when it comes to your books. We're talking QuickBooks help, tax tips, mindset shifts, because yes, money is mental, and a community that actually gets it. How rare, right? It's $30 for your first month because we believe in starting strong without breaking the bank. That's not what we're trying to do here. After that, the price goes up. We'll go live twice a month. We'll answer your questions that are submitted by you ahead of time. Search Mind Your Business and Your Books on Facebook, or just check the link in the show notes. Join us. Your spreadsheets and your sanity will thank you.
Are people seeing you, if they want to see you? They are obviously open to a holistic approach because that's why they would work with you. Now, holistic can mean a lot of different things, is what I've read.
Yeah.
You are probably not going to say, I'm going to write you a prescription for this. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Accurate.
Okay. But more of, let's meet a few times and see where we need to go from there. Is that what it would look like?
So for me, I don't have patients. I have members that are
Sweet.
that are part
Love
of
that.
that are part of the wellness
Yep.
group.
Okay.
And I don't diagnose, prescribe. Instead, I collaborate with people and finding out what is going on with them.
Yeah.
How can we try something, and make sure it's something that they're going to do.
Right.
Because I could sit here and say, hey, I'm going to prescribe this diet for you. And if you're like, I'm only 10 things on that list,
I'm not going to do that.
then it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of designing that to be what it is. So I'm kind of working on this new group program that's utilized this method that I've had of creating the analogy between a home renovation and renovating your wellness.
Love it.
And like you talked about, holistic can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Well, holistic in its name of itself is talking about kind of the 8 different dimensions of wellness.
Okay.
And so it's looking at it from a whole perspective.
Yeah.
Not just one piece. And, I see a lot of times in the medical field, which I was guilty of as well, being in specialty, we laser focus on that one thing. And I think what really misses is that's not what's going on with the whole person. There could be a lot more layers of it going on.
Right. It all connects in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember one of my first clients that I actually had, she said, this is the first time I felt like someone has looked at me as a full person, not just pieces of me.
That's really special because that is so rare.
Yeah.
You go to a GP, it's kind of the surface level, and then they send you to a specialist, and then that becomes the focus. Versus working with you, it's let's get into it because it could be something you didn't expect. So, okay. Do you find yourself collaborating with other, say, like-minded, like whether it's a chiropractor or, people that are in the wellness space and you guys are working together, or how does that look?
Yeah. So actually my office is in a pretty cool space. There's acupuncturists, nutritionists, a massage therapist, some naturopathic doctors, another nurse practitioner. So I'm very much for collaborating with, because I feel like, the treatment regimen for someone is not just medicine or just those things, I like connecting with a lot of people in the community to know what they do because, I have some people, I have hypermobility issues. And so I naturally attract some people that have that.
Sure.
So I've been able to find some Pilates instructors and different people who specialize in helping those individuals to make sure, part of that is, okay, let's try this out and see,
people you trust. Let's try this person.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I love that. And that's probably why I've seen your name pop up so much in that group that we're in. Because you're working with these people, right? So not only are they members, but they're part of what makes what you do go round. Okay. So you spoke a little bit about energies. Do you believe in ghosts? Or how does that work? Is energy the same as a ghost? Or is it more of a spirit?
So for me, I think it's more of a spirit.
Okay.
I think we're all energy. Everything's kind of energy.
Yeah. I love this stuff.
Yeah. But I feel like, feeling the presence of something kind of meaning that's more of a spirit in a sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a positive and sometimes it can be a negative. It's not always.
And you think like we can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And oftentimes, you could feel the intensity of the emotions within that spirit. For me, it's kind of been weird. Like every place that I've moved into, it's like there's energy lurking around.
That like who was here before. You can feel that.
And I used to be like super scared of it. Like, oh my gosh, there's ghosts in this house.
Yeah.
Like creeped out. But the more that I kind of I listen and kind of say like who's here or like if you're not meant to be here, move on. Like
do you
kind of cleanse
sage? I
do.
Okay. It smells so bad though.
It
doesn't smell good.
Yeah.
But spiritually it probably smells fine.
Yeah, usually I kind of cleanse the house and then go back outside.
Right. That would make more sense than like sticking around.
I do like Paleo Santos. It smells a little better.
Yeah. Well, that is a beautiful word, and I'm going to look that up because sage is dusty smelling.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're using plants, obviously, of some sort. When it comes to the energy part, because this is fascinating to me. I'm a super black and white person, probably not as fried as an accountant by trade and nature.
Mom was an accountant.
Oh, so you get it. Okay. I naturally feel black and white, but I'm curious of the gray. And so this stuff really entices me. So when you're learning to be more open, you're learning to read the room, if you will. I mean, feel the room. Read the room? Maybe read it and feel it. Do you think that meditation helps with stuff like that? Because meditation, I've done a lot of reading about lately, is very hard. But maybe that's why it's so hard, because I am overthinking it.
Meditation is hard when you haven't been practicing.
Okay. So you should
It's just like anything. Yeah. Okay. Especially in our society when it's hustle, bustle, go, 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 and your
Very
brain
loud.
is just like going all the time.
Noisy.
And you're not allowing it to have those breaks to be able to explore. And, the good thing about meditation is it's not complete silence. And everyone thinks that it needs to be complete silence, like Buddhist meditation. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's what I've been trying. Yeah.
But sometimes what happens during meditation is you're starting to kind of slow things down and then things may come in. And sometimes when those things come in, they could be an inspiration for something. It could be a reminder of something maybe you need to release or work through.
Okay.
Sometimes it may be that to-do list pops back up in your head.
Always.
And it's going to happen. Those things are going to flood in, but you got to learn how to, I address that and I put it in the box or move on and try to go into the calm space again.
And this is something that you assist with, help with in some kind of sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I do believe there's power in it if you can get there.
Very much so. And I think, I work with a lot of the neurodivergent population.
Sure. Okay.
Which for those of you who don't know
I don't.
what that
Explain
is.
it.
Yeah.
Explain it. What does that mean?
It was a term coined more in like the 1990s, but it basically means like your brain operates.
So long. I thought it was new. Okay. So
it's more like your brain operates in a different beat.
okay.
And we all have different ways that we process things, ways that we take things in, ways that we get things out.
Sure.
For me, I love listening to things. I'm an auditory processor in that, but I'm a verbal processor when I have to talk something out for me to like really work through it.
Sure.
Some people, they'll journal. Some people, they'll draw. So I love really working with my members to be able to figure out what are their unique ways that their brain operates and how do they work.
Okay.
For me to exercise, I normally have to have my earbuds in, listening to a podcast or some pumped up music to get my body in that energetic flow to do that. Or be out in nature playing with my dogs or something.
Yeah. I think it takes a little more for me to want to exercise, but I can see what you're saying. It gets you in the headspace for it.
Right.
I probably need some twerking or something in a class. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I know it's very specific.
Yeah.
But I do love the classes that are out there now that are allowing space for twerking and booty moving.
Sometimes that's my form of exercise, turn on YouTube. Yeah. But I will say my favorite hobby is silent disco.
Okay. I have been to one. I've been to one recently, and those are so fun. They're so underrated. I think that's so great. Did you go to one publicly?
So my first experience was at the Multiple Sclerosis Gala. And
so it was a fancy silent disco?
Yeah, it was then the after party sort of thing. After the big presentation, they had this other room and they had the black light and they had this glowy stuff.
Yeah. You always feel sexy in a black light.
Oh yeah.
I feel just because you look tan.
And it kind of is like a silent rave without the drugs.
Yeah. Because then that turns into something else.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Silent discos are fun. You feel like you're in your own world. And maybe that's the auditory part. You have to feel like you're alone, but you still want to be with people.
I think headphones, just the intensity of the music and the way you process it. And if you notice anybody like kids, when they have headphones on, they go to talk to you, they're like yelling.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they kind of match that volume.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people have the headset on, they just let loose more.
Yeah.
They just kind of get out of their head and into the vibe.
I love that. We need to look for more of those because I think Louisville is starting to.
Louisville has Louisville Silent Disco. You can follow on Facebook.
Oh, well, I will.
They have events.
Okay. Well, I'm going to look that up because,
I'm a stalker.
Yeah, I'm going to be on that level. I found one. It was at a local, I don't know, bar maybe. And it was like 90s themed. So I was in a small heaven. So, okay, Louisville Silent Disco, we're going to follow that. Now, is being a member, okay, how would people know they should work with someone like you? Is there, because when you're sick, you're like, I work with a direct primary care person, so I just go Jessica.
Yeah.
But what are some signs? What are some ways that people would actively look for what you do? Or is it they just need to know someone that knows you?
Well, that's mostly how I've gotten people is through word of mouth referrals and a lot from some direct primary cares.
Okay.
It's usually typically people who feel stuck. They've tried all the things. They feel like it's just not working for them.
Yeah.
They've done this and this and this.
Right.
They just don't even know what they want sometimes.
Okay.
They don't know where they're going. They feel like they're stuck in that space.
Yeah.
Some people it is for something specific that's going on that they're like, I'm not sure what this is. I want to get to the bottom of it
Okay.
But typically what I do when I have a free consultation as of right now for people to kind of come in and quickly just kind of get to know what it is that they're looking for.
Right.
Am I a right fit? To work together. If not, then I lesson with referrals and
I love
whatnot.
that.
But if it is a right fit, then typically I have people go through the visionary session. And in that, we tap into the future version of you and how you want, what you're wanting to really tap into. Because some people don't even know what they want.
I was going to say, it's hard to know if you just know I'm stuck. I don't know where to go from here.
So we help kind of shift that energy quickly to be able to kind of see where are we wanting to go. What are the roadblocks that are really hindering that from happening? And how can we create a plan to start working through that? And so it's different really for everyone. A lot of people, it is let's figure out your genetics and learn more about what is that going through.
Yeah, because that's a whole, that can be a whole thing in itself. People are becoming a little more interested, I think, these days, where they came from and what makes up who they are today. Mm-hmm. So that's something you guide through.
So I don't do 23andMe genetic testing.
Sure.
I mean, I did it myself and now, I lost it.
Yeah.
But I do a genetic testing where it's more about lifestyle and nutrigenomics, or basically what kind of nutrients based on your genetics do you need.
Okay.
So it's more about learning what does your body need to support it?
Mm-hmm.
What are maybe some things that may be hurting it?
Yeah.
What's the best exercise for you? So I had one gentleman who had a heart attack, pretty young age, really healthy. I mean, he worked out, he was running marathons, vegetarian. And he was like, I don't understand why I had a heart attack. And we did his genetics and come to find out endurance, long running was actually really bad for him because he didn't have the genetics to be able to detox and process those things out.
Right.
And when you're doing more exercise, your muscles tend to break down and it produces some byproducts that can become a little toxic and inflammatory and can cause more problems. And I see this a lot of women who are trying to do intermittent fasting, especially if they're perimenopause, because they're fasting and then they're doing the exercise and then their body gets all this toxic stuff and then they feel awful and then they're like, I don't even want to exercise anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
And so sometimes it's learning that's what I love doing, is more educating people how your body works. How is it a little bit more unique with these genetics, and how can we make sure that we're doing those things to help you? And so
that you need,
it's really cool though because it's a one and done test.
Oh,
it's not, hey, we take this test, we do some stuff, we take another one to see if you're better. It's no, hey, this is your stuff. And then we can use that test to go back in and look into it of anything else that comes up.
Okay, well, that's unusual because normally when people hear we got to do some tests, it's plural and it's the beginning of. So, okay, I see what you're saying. It can be a one and done. Do you think, there's so many autoimmune situations today. One that comes to mind because I have a family member is fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one that you see often? Because I've done so much reading, research, trying to assist this family member to help them live a more higher quality of life because they're down a lot. Mm-hmm. So is that something that people would come to you with, or is that you got to go to?
A lot of the people that I see have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the connective tissue issues, the hypermobility, a lot of times it's kind of related to that as well. But in my opinion, the label of fibromyalgia came because we didn't have another diagnosis.
Right. It's without a diagnosis, this is your diagnosis.
Right. And there are some criteria to qualify and has to have multiple pain points and different things. But I find that a lot of people resolve a lot of their symptoms once they know how their body methylates, when just kind of like how it kind of passes the baton to make sure that your cells are doing what it needs to do.
Okay.
Kind of like the Olympics marathon, you got to pass the fire. If somebody blows the fire out and doesn't pass it, it's not going to get to do what it needs to do.
Has that happened?
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
It would be crazy.
Sorry. I was just thinking if there was a fire.
But also how your body detoxes. Like I was saying, how sensitive I was to medicine.
Right.
Well, after I got the flu vaccine, I became allergic to eggs, and I love deviled eggs. Like Easter is torture for me because I'm like, it
That's
smells so
awful.
good. It's so great.
Yeah. But you just know, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Because
flu vaccine?
yeah.
Yikes.
But I realized that my body can't process and detox some of those things. And there are certain things that do trigger my body to be more inflammatory. Well, I was one of those that's like, well, it was just a little bit of an allergy, so I'll still eat it. Right?
Okay, sure.
It'll be okay.
We'll just deal with the consequences.
I'll just eat egg whites.
So
and
much
then
self-control. I love
it. And then that potato salad looks really good. I'll just eat a little bit of it because it doesn't have added eggs. It just has some mayonnaise.
It's fine. Your body will be like, you're doing a great job and reward you by letting you eat it.
And then later that night, my significant other would be like, why did you eat that? Because you're complaining and bloated and betrayed.
I do understand. The older I get, there are certain things now I'm like, I love pizza. Like pizza every Friday, almost every day I could eat pizza. But the older I get, my chest does not love pizza. And I hurt for 24 hours after. Same with wine. Wine's another one. I can't just casually drink wine anymore. I'm not anywhere near middle age, but 30s hit different.
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like a lot of people are experiencing a lot more differences after exposures to viruses and different things that impact their immune system.
Yeah, that's true too. So if going back to fibromyalgia, those people that have it could be on the longest list of medications ever because this one needs this one, that needs this one. Is that something? I'm sure you probably see that all the time because people are trying to get unstuck.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you maneuver through that? Is it, like diets, the elimination diet? Is it the pill diet?
The pill elimination.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I definitely, and a lot of people that come to me are the people who say, I don't want a pill.
Yeah.
They're like, what else can I
Get
take
me out of here
besides a pill?
Yeah.
But yeah, the pill elimination is real. And I learned that from one of the cardiologists that I work with.
Really?
Electrophysiologist, the electrician of the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds super smart.
He was definitely kind of more insightful about a lot of things, about the importance of sleep and, a lot of the things, how it impacts the body. And definitely, he was very inspirational for me and looking more into those holistic things.
Oh, I like that.
And
good people, mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And sleep is a huge one. And we undervalue sleep
100%.
so much. Working in the sleep clinic, like seeing so many people come in with various different sleep, and you're like, oh, it's okay. I got like 4 hours. I'll be fine.
That's like a really good Sunday nap.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah. So definitely you have to put more, intentional work towards getting good sleep.
It is.
That's hard.
It is a process.
Yeah.
It is.
And that's something, like you mentioned earlier, people can work through with you. Because it could be a bigger issue, not just go to bed earlier.
Right.
Because sometimes it's, just go to bed earlier, but it could be, if it's a consistent problem, something that needs more attention.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a quick story. This was just a telehealth review I had with a woman. She said, I haven't been able to sleep for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, what's changed in 3 years? Nothing really major. We go through her supplements. And she's taken her biotin hair, skin, and nail supplement before she goes to bed.
Oh, with B12 in it?
It didn't have, I don't know if it had extra B12 in it.
Okay.
I mean, B12 can be very good to help sleep, but usually that's taken more in the morning.
Yeah.
But it had pretty high doses of biotin, and biotin can actually be stimulating and impact your sleep. And so I told her, I was like, well, how about we cut the dose in half and move it to the morning? And she reached out to me, like, I didn't even know I was ever going to speak to her. And she reached out to me and she was like, that was the key.
That was it.
It was like one little quick, simple thing.
That's it.
Like she had tried all the sleep pills. She had done all these things. She'd ruled out sleep apnea. And it was just like
a simple. Sometimes it can be as simple as that.
Yeah.
You said telehealth.
Yeah.
So is that how you can help people? They don't have to come in.
So I do a lot of virtual
Okay.
visits. And sometimes with some of the guided meditations, it is nice because people can pop in their earbuds and hear it that way, which is a little bit. And I usually kind of record if they want it.
Yeah.
Record that session so they can listen to it over and over again on their own.
Okay. You have a very soothing voice, so I can see how that could be helpful. But sometimes, like RFK, can you imagine if that was like who you were listening to? And I don't know if I would sleep well with that as a listen to before bed. His voice is a little scratchy, to say the least. But you have a soothing voice, so that is something you can record and you can help people through.
And I usually add in some sound therapies too.
What does that look like? Do you have like
It's typically a different hertz tone, frequency, depending on kind of what they need.
Yeah.
Like
a rain
like
stick.
A right machine.
Oh, I went a different route with that.
The rain stick sounds really cool.
I really like a rain stick.
I do too.
Okay.
They're really cool.
I feel like everyone that I know that was born like late 80s, mid 90s, their parents had a random rain stick in their house. Why?
Well, I remember making it in school because we were learning about the Native Americans.
Okay. So we made them in school. My parents had this large.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they're doing with that, but a lot of people have them. Rain sticks can be very calming.
Yeah.
So you're going the more scientifically probably proven route than just a rain stick. And remember those things they used to go, woo, woo? It's probably not soothing, but they still had a cool sound. Okay. So people don't have to come into an office because sometimes that keeps people from seeking help if they have anxieties about going into an actual office. You can help them on Zoom.
Yeah. So I've got some people all over the U.S.
Okay. It can be a virtual call.
Yeah.
But you have an office and people can come in and say, I'm stuck. Okay. You're easily found on Facebook too, because that was where I started. What are some other places where people can find you? Do you have a website?
I do have a website, but I'm shifting to the wellness renovation website and getting one built.
Okay, exciting.
So I'm super excited about
that. Yeah, okay.
I have my link tree, which is where I usually refer. That's on the back of my business card.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
So people can kind of get in touch with what are the workshops that I'm hosting, what's going on, what are some of the resources. So that's usually the better place to kind of get.
Can they get that on Facebook?
Yeah.
Tree? Okay. So the Whitney Fallon, find link tree there. So you host workshops.
I love doing workshops.
Yeah. Do you have any fun ones coming up?
I just completed a bunch of them.
Oh, did you? All right. Well,
I'm in the replanning phase next. The next one that I have coming up is just a virtual open house for the wellness renovation.
Virtual open house? That is so my jam. I love that. Still wanting, I want to be a part of things, but in-person stuff, it's hard. It's tough.
Yeah.
So virtual open house coming up. You just did a bunch of workshops. Have you thought about recording them? And
so I do record most of them.
Oh, do you? Okay. If people want to watch,
so most people, if they register for most of our workshops, are going to get the recording and still be able to watch it because I know, for me, life's busy and sometimes that time doesn't work for me, but I can listen to a replay.
Yes.
During
the time that does work.
Right. Yeah. So I definitely accommodate that because I think that's a lot easier for people.
You catch that replay.
Last night I did a workshop for financial professionals about financial education.
Okay. Well, that's right up my alley. How did that go?
It was great. I collaborated with 2 other nurses that I'm on a team with because I also help support people with their finances in that holistic realm of things. And so we kind of got to talk about our own stories and different aspects of it. And I got to hear, new things from them.
Sure.
Know them that I still get to learn new things.
Always. You always feel like you learn something new when you collaborate with people and they're telling their story. Like this, I didn't know as much as I thought I did about you.
Yeah.
Okay. So not just holistic body stuff, but financially can help people in a holistic way.
Yeah. Finances are a big stressor right now.
100%.
I know.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Yes, I see that often.
And, I was meeting with this one lady the other day who helps to kind of reset your subconscious programming because I need to do
Okay.
that work myself. And she said money is one of the major categories that people have emotional ties to.
Interesting.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
Um,
That is very true. I get it from a different perspective, but yes. So you can help someone start that journey. Financial holistic healing. So if someone, what would be someone that would be ideal? Ideal is a weird word for that, but that would say, I need help with this. What are some common kind of indicators that they would reach out?
so one of the big times when people are going through, a life change, that's when they're usually like, what do I do? How do I overcome this?
Sure.
Get through those. I've been divorced myself. So going through that process.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
The older you get, the harder it is.
I feel like a lot of women need a lot more support during that because sometimes they're so fed up, they're just like, whatever, take whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't realize the value of some of the stuff that they had to be able to kind of fight
make
for
good
themselves.
decisions.
Yeah.
And
And, when you're going through some kind of change, you have that emotional thing going on. And it's hard to make logical decisions when you're in an emotional state.
Right.
So it's kind of how can we help support the emotional side of things? How can we, sometimes it's healing some of our money story, the beliefs and things that we do have about money.
Yeah.
But it's also like providing, I call myself a wealth strategist because it's giving you more strategies on how you could help improve your wealth and referring you to other people to help you do that.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So you're working with people that can kind of fit into the treatment plan, if you will, whether it's financial. Keep doing this because it just all feels like a circle. It all comes back.
I keep doing it too.
The circle of financial well-being, the circle of financial or holistic. Well-being. But you work with a lot of people that can help if it's something that maybe you're not doing specifically. You can guide them in the right way.
I feel like a financial social worker because it's like, oh, you're having this issue. Okay, let me refer you to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need a book over here?
Yeah. Here's where I'll lead you. Okay. Well, I love that. I love that you do both because people underestimate how much they overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I say both, but really they all work together. And money is such a hot topic with society, relationships, family dynamics. I mean, the whole nine. So if people want to find you, Facebook, Linktrees is where we need to go.
I'm on Instagram too.
Okay, Instagram's. The millennial in me did not just instinctually say that. So I'm working on it. Instagram.
I know. I'm more of a Facebook.
I know. It's hard. Because I remember when Facebook became, I'll say open to the public.
Yeah.
Versus
you had to be in college.
Yeah, the elite where you're 14 years old and you're like, yes, I am 20 years old. I do go to this college. So that's where social media started for me. Mm-hmm. So Instagram, is it at Whitney Fallon?
It's Whitney Fallon 0.
The original. Okay. Whitney Fallon 0. There's a link tree. People can look through that and see how they can get in touch with you. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming there's some resources as well.
Mm-hmm. And then the website, there's also where you could put in your information if you want to be on my email list.
Yeah.
Newsletter.
Okay.
Updates.
Okay. We're going to follow Louisville Silent Disco as well.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to be part of our treatment plan going forward.
It's part of mine.
Oh, it should be. It's the best exercise. Great. So any last, everything that you went through at the beginning of this conversation, so inspiring. Because sometimes I think people see the end result, see this intelligent, great posture woman and think, well, they don't understand where I came from. And and they discredit everything that happened before. And so any last kind of like habits, tips, tricks, don't give ups before we drop the mic, but not really because they're attached.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think spiritually, having a spiritual practice is super important for anyone. No matter what that looks like to them. For me, God and Jesus are a big part of my life. And really the first 10 minutes of your day set the tone for the rest of the day. So my big tip is that first 10 minutes, really making sure to have that solitude, quiet time for yourself. Even if it is just waking up and laying in bed for just a few more minutes. And just letting it be quiet.
Taking that time intentionally.
Or what I like to do is visualize my day. Like I visualized us sitting here and talking on this podcast.
Love that.
I visualize myself driving and being safe and, just setting that intention of that positivity of what I want to bring in.
Yeah.
Because I know where your mind goes, your energy flows. So if your mind is worried and constantly thinking about all the negativity things, your energy is going to naturally attract more of that negativity and problems. So that first part of your day is super important, and where your mind goes, that energy flows. So it's really intentionally,
not checking your phone or just feeling upset that you have to wake up and like do things.
Yeah, because your brain, the first dopamine hit that your brain gets will constantly want to do that over and over throughout the day. Yeah. Like a lot of my smokers, I try to encourage them to push off their first cigarette as long as possible to help keep that dopamine urge to want to smoke more and more and more. The people, there's one lady who like wakes up and smokes a cigarette in bed.
Yeah, immediately.
And I'm like, no wonder you're smoking like 2 packs a day.
Yeah, because this is how you start
your brain is like,
this is what we're doing now.
So, if you're starting your day, like I did in the panic the other day, I got a call from healthcare and I thought it was the telehealth visit I was supposed to be on. And I'm like rushing around like, it's not even time. This is something totally different. I felt panicked the rest of the day and I had to take some time to kind of stop and
reset yourself.
Yeah. Or scrolling Facebook, then you'll catch yourself like going back and wanting to scroll Facebook. And that's the first thing.
I've never thought of it like that. That's so true. Giving yourself that little piece at the beginning of the day to set yourself up for the rest. Because it does feel like you wake up in a rush, you're going to spill your coffee, your shirt's going to get caught on a doorknob. So many. It happens so much to me. Probably because I wear these like jackets. It's cold in the house. You're going to trip over a dog. You're like, all these things are going to happen. But starting off on a non-panicked, clear state can help the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That was so hopeful.
If I could do it all over again, there'd be no wish I would, should have been. Spend more time with my family and friends. If I could do it all over again, I'd wake up early and start my